Close your eyes and visualize a moment in your mind when words are silent and emotions speak. Perhaps you are walking through the silent corridors of a sanctuary, perhaps you are under a star-filled night sky, or perhaps you are standing in the quietest corner of your home with your eyes fixed on the ceiling. At that moment, all the chaos seems to surrender to an inner voice. You hear a question inside you: why can't I feel my prayers with real intimacy? This question resonates in the hearts of many people. Because although prayer has been known for centuries as a bridge through which people reach out to the divine, to the sacred source, to the deep mind of the universe, over time it may seem to have turned into stereotypes, rote rituals, unanswered cries. Perhaps we have misunderstood our prayers, perhaps we need an ancient lost method for right connection. Is prayer just asking for things, listing wishes, repeating ready-made formulae? Or is prayer the gateway to an inner journey that has been known for centuries but has been forgotten in the noise of the modern world? Perhaps we need to redefine our prayers. Prayer can be a state, a vibration, an endeavor to achieve spiritual harmony rather than words. This perspective requires not only addressing the outside, to the sky, to a being, but also going deep within oneself. When we look at history, in many spiritual traditions, prayer was not only a means of making requests. In ancient Egyptian temples, priests used to perform long purification rituals before prayer, calming their minds and bodies and trying to harmonize with the divine. In Buddhism, prayer was a means of deepening awareness and compassion, rather than a means of making requests to the universe. Christian monks learnt the language of silence in prayer cells, while Sufi dervishes transported themselves to a transcendent state through dhikr. These ancient examples show that prayer is a state of awareness that does not remain only in language, but creates inner transformations. So, why has prayer been reduced to simply asking for something? The modern world has created a fast-flowing, efficiency and result-oriented culture that wants to measure everything. Within this culture, prayer has often taken the form of a wish list. We wait to see whether our requests are granted or not, and we are disappointed if we do not get a concrete result. This approach causes us to miss the secret at the core of prayer. Because perhaps prayer is not about bargaining with the universe, but about subtly adjusting ourselves to its flow. This lost method suggests a radical transformation in the structure of prayer, reducing words, increasing inner silence, feeling sincerely, relaxing expectations, listening instead of just asking. To understand this perspective, let us first redefine the purpose of prayer. Prayers can mean speaking the language of the heart, connecting the vibrations of the soul with a thin thread to the sacred. This sacred can be called a religious figure of God, the great order of nature, universal consciousness, or the all-embracing field of love. The name is not important. What is important is what the one praying must realize. Prayer aims to bring us into alignment with our inner self and the vast fabric of existence. This alignment gives us a sense of serenity and wholeness before the realization of our wishes. So, what does it look like to pray wrong? Perhaps wrong here refers to the approach, not the method. In other words, if we have fear, anxiety, excessive expectations, ambition while praying, prayer can become a tense monologue rather than creating an inner resonance. In this monologue, we speak, we wait for an answer from the universe, but we are too drowned in our own voices to hear the silent whispers of the universe. The wrong prayer is perhaps the moment when we block our inner ears, when we focus only on receiving and forget about giving, sharing, gratitude. While searching for the missing method, let us turn to ancient teachings. For example, in the yoga tradition, prayer or mantra repetitions are not only a means of making a request, but also a means of purifying the mind and raising the vibration. In that silence, one begins to sense that one's own being is one with the universe. In Sufism, prayer is to speak in the language of love. While calling out, Ya Rab, the dervish actually opens the doors of the heart, leaving himself to divine love. This state of love is nourished by the sweetness of prayer itself, rather than the acceptance of prayers. Indian shamans communicate with the spirit of nature through dances, ceremonies, and silence, aiming to bring the energies of heaven and earth into balance. These examples give us clues about the lost method of prayer: rituals, sound, breath, silence, inner focus, seeing oneself as a simple receiver and transmitter in the universe. What can modern man learn from this ancient wisdom? First of all, prayer should not just be a verbal act. Yes, words are important, but it is also necessary to go beyond words. Stopping for a moment and not asking for anything, just trying to feel, placing the feeling of gratitude in the center of the heart, slowing down the breath and making the chest lighter. These practices turn prayer into an inner transformation tool in an instant. In this process, perhaps in response to our prayers, great miracles in the physical world do not happen instantly, but a radical change begins in our inner world. This inner transformation is perhaps the most profound miracle of all. Another dimension of prayer is that it expands the concept of communication. Normally, communication takes place between a speaker and a listener. But prayer creates a state of unity, perhaps beyond both. The line between the listener and the speaker is blurred. It becomes unclear who is speaking, who is listening, who is responding. This uncertainty actually opens the doors to a higher consciousness of unity. This is why the lost method aims to unite the identity of the praying with the universe. In this state, one feels deeply that one is part of the universe, and this feeling restores the lost sense of trust. One can come up with more concrete ideas of what this method of true connection might look like in practice. For example, every morning when you wake up, sit quietly for a few minutes. Do not ask for anything. Just listen to the rhythm of your breath, feel the presence of your body. Awaken gratitude within you, thank the moment you are living, the breath you are taking, everything around you. This gratitude transforms the prayer from a list of demands into an expression of gratitude. Then whisper a few heartfelt words, perhaps a mantra or something from the heart. Let these words be directed not to a being in front of you, but to the universe at large, or to your own being. End with a short silence. Even this simple daily ritual can change your understanding of prayer. Over time you can deepen these practices. Perhaps once a month, you take solitary walks in nature, standing in the forest, on the seashore, or at the top of a hill, practicing inner listening rather than inner dialogue. Maybe you light a candle, silently looking at its flickering flame, without calling out to the source within you, just feeling its presence. Such practices are perfect for realizing the lost method of prayer. But what does this method bring us? If we see prayer as an act of attunement rather than a wish list, we can change our relationship with life. Instead of being disappointed at every setback, we can read them as a lesson, a sign of direction. For true prayer nurtures a meaningful relationship with events rather than their outcome. Here, acceptance becomes an important word. Acceptance does not mean giving up, on the contrary, it means harmonizing with the flow of life, placing ourselves as a note in the great symphony of the universe. The development of science also supports this lost method. Neuroscience research shows that a deep sense of gratitude and connection calms the stress centers in our brain and regulates our body's defense mechanisms. In other words, this new understanding of prayer may offer physiological and psychological benefits rather than being an abstract concept. Thus, prayer can go beyond a mere spiritual practice and become a holistic health tool. In summary, perhaps the answer to the question, whether we are doing prayer wrong, lies in the intention, tone, and expectations of our prayers. Prayer is not just a demanding monologue, but an effort to create an inner harmony, an act of harmonizing with the deep rhythm of the universe. This lost method carries us to a point of satisfaction, a point of peace, independent of whether our wishes are realized or not. Ultimately, what we call true connection is resonating with a whole greater than ourselves. Herein lies the magic of existence. We are not mere voices echoing in the void, but instruments in the chorus of the universe. Prayer is an opportunity to join this chorus, to harmonize with that collective symphony. Perhaps this is exactly what ancient civilizations, mystics, and wise teachers allude to as the lost method, listening to the universe instead of bargaining with it, developing a common language instead of one-sided conversations, leaning on gratitude and understanding instead of demands. No matter what religious beliefs or spiritual traditions we come from, this approach points to a universal truth: deep down, we are all made of the same tissue. Prayer is the practice of recognizing that fabric. To pray wrongly is perhaps to forget this fabric. To pray correctly is to remember. To remember ourselves, the being, the big picture. And so, even in the darkest moment, to feel that the universe sees us, hears us, and guides us with love. So, let us no longer be afraid of praying wrong. Let us pray with feelings rather than words, with gratitude, silence, patience, and an inner smile. Because perhaps the lost method is to find the answer we expect from the outside in the vast silence within.